All right guys, we're at Eurobike, the biggest bike trade show in the whole of Europe, looking for the best e-bikes of the show. Let's go see what we can find. So Eurobike is the biggest cycling show in the whole of Europe. It is absolutely huge. I can't describe how big this place is. But today we're going to focus on e-bikes. E-mountain bikes are obviously the hottest ticket in town. And if you're talking about hot tickets in town, then clearly the DJI Avonix motor, originally fitted to the Amflow, has got to be one of the most important things here in the show. Now I'm just crossing one of the test tracks here, but let's go and have a look, see what they've got, because I know that there's some new bikes here with their incredible motor, so let's go check it out. Bit of shade, it's warm today in Germany. So we've got the Megamo here. Talked about that on the channel. Look at that. There's the Uno Myth. That is a properly lust-worthy bike. I'd love to ride that, along with Forbidden's E-Druid, or Druid E-Light. This bike is really cool, but I think the newest one, look, is the Commencal. So they launched this last night. It's the Meta Power SX with the DJI Avonix motor. And look, a pair of Fox Podium forks that also launched last night. We've got a video on the channel, of course. It's a bit dark, it's a bit noisy, but no Commencal next door, so let's go and have a look there. Someone else is filming the Meta SX, but spotted this just quickly. Commencal Meta HT 24 kids e-bike, look at that. It's got the Bosch Power SX motor down in there, 24-inch wheels, Manitou fork. If you've got a little kid, you want to get them out shredding on an e-bike, check this little thing out. How cool is that? Okay, so one of the more anticipated bikes that we wanted to come and see was the new Commencal with a DJI motor. It is the Meta Power SX DJI. Launched last night, aluminium as you'd expect from Commencal. Oh look, there's someone in a little car. 160mm of travel at the back with their VCS suspension system, so that's a multi-link in there. And then 160mm forks at the front. The idea is to give like a really nice, balanced, comfortable ride on rough enduro trails. So the medium, large and extra large will come with an 800 watt-hour battery in the down tube, while the small will come with a 600 watt-hour. So the reason why they're putting a smaller battery in the small bike is to sort of maintain the balance and the feel of the bike with a potentially lighter rider. So that's why actually quite a few brands do that sort of thing. There's going to be 3 models starting at 7,900 euros for the Essential, going all the way up to the top flight bike with the new Fox Podium fork. The upside down one, we saw it earlier in the DJI stand. That comes in at around 10,000 euros. However, you are going to have to wait until spring next year to get hold of one of these, because this is a prototype. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. Excited to give this one a ride, hopefully at some point next year with that new DJI motor. So that is the new Commencal Meta Power SX DJI. So I was just walking past the Mahle stand. Obviously they've just released the new M40 motor a month or two back. An impressive unit, 105 Newton meters, 850 watts. Initially it was 400% assistance, but it's been updated to 600% assistance. So quite impressive figures. Now there weren't actually that many bikes that we saw with the motor fitted at launch. However, look at this one here. That is a steel enduro bike with a fully integrated Mahle M40 system in there from a Spanish brand called Abums. Apologies for the pronunciation there. This is a pretty cool looking bike. It's an enduro bike or mountain bike. They don't actually say how much travel it has, but clearly we're at, I reckon, what, 160-ish? So look, high pivot bike, main pivot up here, it's a single pivot there, and then the idler to keep the chain growth at bay. Idea of that is to give a nice rearward axle path when you're hitting bumps, smooth out the trail a little bit and give a much nicer ride. So it's a pretty unique system. And then look, down here, we've got the M40 motor bolted nicely into the bottom of this bike. And then the battery is integrated into that down tube. Now there's not many steel e-bikes out there, full stop, and even fewer with a battery mounted inside the frame. So it's quite a unique bike. Up here, you've got the Mahle display up here with a little controller. So level 2, level 3, 3 levels of assistance on the M40. And then you can change the data that it displays up here. Nice and smart system with a nice little button on there, nice little wireless controller. Okay, so why would you make a steel e-bike instead of carbon or aluminium? Well, the brands say that the inherent flex in a steel frame gives that incredible ride feel that they want on the trail, plenty of grip, plenty of comfort, and overall, I actually quite like the look of this bike. It's definitely industrial. It's welded together with some brazing, quite angular lines on there. High pivot, and then look, there's alternate shock mounts here, which presumably is going to adjust both the geometry and maybe sort of the kinematics of the suspension. So there's not a huge amount of detail. A little bit of 3D printed parts on there, we like that. Modular dropouts, quite interesting stuff. That is probably one of the most unique e-bikes I've spotted here at Eurobike. Now, I don't know what this is, but I definitely want to go in it. Look, pedals, cover. You ain't going to get rained on in that, are you? So just having a quick look around the handbuilt section of the show, just because there's sometimes some interesting things, and we spotted this. Now, from a distance, you know that this is an orange. It's got that classic look, aluminium frame, elevated chainstays, and yes, that is a DJI motor slung down in the bottom of the bike. So we actually bumped into the guys from Orange while we were having a little poke around and gave a few details on this new e-bike. So think of it as like a Phase Evo kind of evolution from that. 150mm travel at the back with 160mm forks, built for trail and enduro use, as you'd imagine. And we're going to have, I think, an 800 watt hour battery slung in the down tube there. There's your DJI screen going in the top, obviously no bits and pieces in there. But yeah, very much, well, it's not really a prototype because this is a production frame, and they tell us that we're going to start seeing these come into the shops in September-ish, so an autumn release on this new bike. As you'd know, it's all going to be built in their newly owned factory up in Halifax. There's been a few chops and changes to how Orange work, but they seem pretty happy on how the whole new structure's going, and this is going to be a new bike in their lineup. But they're going back to slightly more sort of flat and angular instead of curved tubes on there, and I think that is a good move. The frame in the flesh looks amazing, and of course we've got all the classic welding, hand welded stuff, so bare welds on this bare alloy frame. I rode an Orange 5 for a year, maybe about 9-10 years ago, and I absolutely loved it, so I am pretty excited to have a little go on this bike. So I've been on a bit of a mission to find the cheapest DJI equipped bike, and I think I've done so here with the Crussis eHard 11.11. So this is a brand that I have not come across before, but they've got quite a big stand here at Eurobike, including a few full suspension DJI bikes and one with the Panasonic motors as well, bits and pieces. But this is the eHard 11.11, comes in at 3,590 euros, so under 4,000 euros. With that DJI motor tucked down in there. Look, you've got the display up there. Now it comes with a 600 watt hour battery for that price, so you can pay another 300 euros for the bigger 800 watt hour battery. Aluminium hardtail, 130mm of travel in there, so ideal for your trail riders. Comes with a Fox AWL fork, which is kind of a budget trekking fork from the brand, with a rail damper. Now, my experience of those cheaper Fox forks is really good, so I reckon that's actually a pretty good fork on there. Now, if you want lots of power, which you do get with a DJI, you're going to need to get that onto the ground easily, so you want some big, thick, soft, sticky rubber in the form of a pair of Maxxis Recons in that 2.6-inch size, 29 front and back. So run those tyres pretty soft, and you will get a bit of comfort and a bit of traction, and hopefully you'll be able to get all that power from the DJI motor onto the ground nice and easy. So unfortunately, can't get this in the UK or in the US, but if you are in the EU, you will be able to get hold of one of these, and if you really want one, I guess you could travel over to the EU and buy one perhaps. Interesting bike, really cool to see, and yeah, maybe we'll see more from this brand in the future. Okay, so a little update on the Crussis. Apparently you might be able to get them in the UK. I've had conflicting information, but have a dig around if you're interested in this bike. This is the Crussis Pro X 1211, a top-end full suspension bike, decked out to the max in some really fancy kit on there. Got all the Fox stuff, all the SRAM transmission, carbon wheels from FSA, nice Float X shock there, live valve, and of course the DJI motor. 160mm at the front, I think 150 at the back. Could be. A little bit of a weapon on the trails. Okay, so I think I might have found the most expensive e-bike here at Eurobike, certainly in the mountain bike sector. It is the the Nicolai S16 MGU 30th anniversary edition. Now this is a pretty special bike, as you can see. I mean, classic Nicolai here. All the metalwork on there, the forming, the shaping, this sort of the industrial chic look. And this particular bike has got this really interesting Cerakote ceramic finish, which is like a super hard wearing, almost like an anodizing type process, I believe. So not only is it on the frame, but it's also on the custom Intend Flash 38 upside down fork here at the front of the bike. You do not get that unless you're spending an awful lot of money. Now there's also an Intend shock in the middle of the bike here, Intend brakes, Lilienthal carbon wheels. These are particularly Gucci. Those are very, very nice. Now in the middle of the bike, you've got the Pinion E112 motor there with the Gates carbon drive on there. Very on trend for 2025, as I'm sure you can understand. So 17,000 euros for this particular bike. 160 mil of travel at the front and at the back. So this is your classic enduro e-bike. Big grippy tyres there. You've got the Schwalbe Magic Mary Gravities with that radial casing on there. Plenty of space. This is some machine. Now, these are limited to about 10, they told me, and you kind of have to apply as far as I can tell from the information on offer. They did have someone buy one last week. They fully spec'd it out, fully tricked. 22,000 euros someone spent on one of these. I've never heard of anyone spending 22,000 euros on a mountain bike before, so someone's got a very special bike. But this is some bit of kit. Okay, that turquoise colour can only mean one thing. Yes, this is a Yeti e-bike. It is the Yeti MTe T4 e-bike, midweight, 140 mil at the back, 160 mil at the front, using the TQ HPR 60 motor. 60 Newton meters of power down in there with 350 watts. And then you're getting either a 290 watt hour or 580 watt hour battery options, plus the ability to add a little extender onto the down tube there. So a really lovely bike, 140 at the back, 160 at the front, so definitely sort of on that longer travel trail spectrum. And now it is a mid-weight bike, and it's saying that it has good gilt, is Yeti's phrase for it, which means that yes, you have to put some effort in if you're going to do repeated laps. It is not going to power you to the top of the hill like some of the most powerful e-bikes out there will do. But that should mean that there is a lighter weight bike, around 17.5 kilos, up to 21 for the heaviest builds. So plenty, you should really ride like a normal mountain bike in many respects. Now inside the frame you get Vectran. So that is an additive into the carbon fibre layup, which should add extra strength. In fact, it's the same material that they use in their downhill bike that you may have seen Richie Rude racing this year and Camille Blanche. Usually it's just in their special projects bikes. So clearly, despite the fact that this is a mid-travel bike, it is built for big hits. Interesting stuff. Now, it doesn't use their Switch Infinity linkage system, instead it uses their Sixfinity linkage. You want to know the difference between Sixinfinity and Switch Infinity? Switch Infinity is the linkage you see on a lot of their bikes with the little Kashima shuttle that the main pivot goes up and down on. As a Sixinfinity is a 6-bar linkage. So we've got the main frame, 1 bar, 2-bar chainstay, 3-bar seat stay, rocker 4, this link 5, and then there's another linkage down in there, and that is the 6th bar of this 6-bar suspension linkage. So if you're wondering, that's why it's 6-bar, Sixinfinity, not Switch Infinity. Now on that midweight status, it's coming in at around 17.5 kilos for the lightest weight build. So that kind of puts it in the weight range of like some of the bigger, heavier enduro bikes out there. So should actually feel pretty good on the trails, I reckon. Not had a chance to ride this one, but definitely keen to do so if I can down the line, because that is one good looking bike. Yeti are almost certainly one of the most lust-worthy mountain bike brands out there, and to have this midweight bike is interesting. There's not a huge number of them out on the market these days. Most people are going for those full power systems, so interesting to see Yeti go for that midweight one. They do of course have full power bikes in their range. But yeah, that is the Yeti MTe T4. So when you walk around the halls in Eurobike, you come across all sorts of stuff that you've never seen or heard about. So Preto, look, motor manufacturer, down there. Now the P10, 110 Newton meters of torque, which is a fair old whack, and 1,000 watts of power. I mean, those numbers are pretty much the same as what you're getting on the DJI Avonix, and yet, Preto, never heard of them. There's loads of brands like this. Well, I've got Gen 2, the Vinca Q70 SE mid-drive motor system. again, there's all these manufacturers from all over the world with all these products that you just don't see in the UK, you don't see on mainstream bikes. Really interesting though, and there's got to be some little nuggets in there that, you know, one day are going to blow up. All right, so I was a little bit flustered at the end of yesterday's video, and I didn't shoot an outro, so here it is instead. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop us any comments down below, and obviously like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. You know the deal. Now, I'm at Eurobike for a few more days. I'm going to be shooting today normal mountain bikes, so that'll be out on the channel in a couple of days, and we're going to shoot parts and accessories too, because there's some really cool stuff coming, so keep an eye out for those. In the meantime, check out the videos on screen now. Hope you enjoy them.